What's up, YouTubers? Judge Joe here, and I got something really special today. I'm here with Matthew Preston. He is one of our Austin locals, but it's special because he placed third with his team, Team Proxy, on the Houston Regionals 2019 Team League. Now, of course, as you can tell, he used Great Nature, one of his favorite clans. But I'm not going to talk anymore because you don't want to hear me talk. You want to hear the man talk. The man, the myth, the legend. Preston, go ahead and take it over.
All right, like Joe said, we made third place. It was a combination of Great Nature, Victor, and Ange. Just thought that this deck had a pretty good turnout and had a pretty good matchup against Gize and Nubatama, as well as some of the other top decks. Paid off pretty well. The only real trouble I had were a couple bad draws, which cost us the couple rounds, but what can you do without that? So let's get right into the deck profile. So we've got starter, which is Blackboard Parrot. For this build, you use this. There are a couple of other builds where you have like duck bills and easy retire stuff, so you can just go, Telescope Rabbit for a more consistent build, but this definitely works for what I use it for. Next we run main grade 3 is for Leopold. You mostly want him for the Excel, but the on-place skill is just so good when it goes off, so that way you can get your free +2 and just keep going with a full board. Then we go secondary grade 3, which is Big Belly. So reason you run him is because he's essentially another Crayon Tiger. When he's successful and at the end of battle that he attacks, counterblast 1, restand a unit, give a +4, and you turn retire that unit, but usually it doesn't matter because you're going to be using skills to retire those units anyway. And then for the last grade 3, you run 2 Talented Rhinos. This is pretty much an auto-win card in certain situations. Against most decks that it's just almost impossible to guard. Decks that use grade 0 perfect cards can't guard it. So it only really becomes a problem whenever they're like ZTB or Eng whenever they're running grade 1s, and you have to combo with Monoculous Tiger. For grade 2s, got 4 Crayon Tiger, C Big Belly for explanation. 3 Lesser Riders. This one was a last minute throw-in, mostly because of the fact that its resist allows me to protect itself against mid-battle G-Guardians. So against decks like Kagero, which I was expecting to see because the Logic of Destruction just came out, as well as ZTB and what else? Nubatama. So those 3 decks usually have a decent chance of beating this deck, so I just needed to have something to stop them. Run 2 Binoculous Tigers. It's essentially just a free plus no matter what. Counterblast 1, mill 1. If it's a normal unit, I draw a card. If it's a trigger unit, I retire a unit and one of my opponent's units and give +5 to 3 of my front rows. But specifically, I like to hold this off against some decks that I know are playing Honolly, so that way I can have the chance of hitting Honolly and continuing more than 5 attacks. Then my last grade 2s, I run 2 Bicolor Baku. There were some situations where I really wanted to have a 11k body, and so I chose this. And there were also situations where I started the game with a trigger in my hand that I wanted to put back, as well as Mike Saburo. So combined with this, I get everything I wanted. If I were to switch this out for Compass Line, I would probably get stuck on retiring cards that I don't want to retire, as well as stacking my deck with stuff that I don't want. For grade 1s, got 4 Mike Saburo. It's necessary. You have to run 4 in this deck. You have to see the right grade 3 that you want in order for the deck to function, as well as getting the big bellies into your hand whenever you want to restand your board. 3 mini bellies. It's just extra stride fodder as well as big belly searcher. It essentially works just like Mike Saburo, but in slightly different situations. So if you don't have the retire search for your right grade 3, you can always just call this, reveal a grade 3, and then add another one to your hand by discarding another card. 3 Monoculous Tiger. This combined with Rhino makes an unblockable board. Combined with Zoa makes it an auto win. So your opponent literally has to have all 4 G-Guardians in hand or be Bermuda Triangle. If not, then they can't out this. For my last grade 1, I ran 3 Animal Clip Lesser. I was a little iffy on this card, but it turned out to actually work. So the reason why is that I was half tempted to put in Label Pangolin instead. So Label Pangolin allows me to countercharge and soul charge immediately when my at the end of the battle that my unit attacks, where this one has to hold off until end of turn where it retires itself, countercharges, and draws during the end phase. So it can become susceptible to stuff like Kagura's back row blow up. But that's also why I have Lesser Rider in there. Because it's a success unit, it will get resist, so it can't get targeted by Nubatama or anything that would target the back row. Not to mention the fact that when it boosts, it gets plus 4k and retires. And the retire and plus 4 is not GB restricted. So if I have this plus Mike Saburo, I can boost Mike Saburo, give it 4k, make it an 18 line, hit those grade 1s, and be able to search for a grade 3 at the same time. So it actually works pretty well in multiple situations other than just being stuck with Pangolin until I hit GB1. For triggers, I run 5 crit. So I was a little iffy on upping this up, but it actually proved to be pretty nice because I ran 3 front. There were a lot of times when I was thinking maybe I'll just go all crit, or maybe I'll drop the front to like maybe 2. In this particular build, I like 3. I might drop it down to 2 once we get some of the new stuff. But I decided 5 and 3 specifically for the fact that if I stride Barlet Roll first turn and I hit a front trigger, it's essentially as if I've already stridden Barlet Roll a second time, and it makes it that much harder for my opponent to guard. So it just gives me more pluses, or it requires more cards coming out of my opponent's hand. Then I run 4 draw, because it's a draw PG, and 4 heal. I'm running Automatism Koala specifically for the fact that I need the counter charge, as well as sometimes the soul charge. But other than that, like, this is going to be probably going to take out 2 of these for V heal triggers whenever we start playing with New Gridora from Premium Set, just because I'm not able to G-Guard. Same thing with OTT, because they have that stupid ability with New Ichikishima to prevent auto abilities of Guardians. So there's really no point to that. For G-Zone, run 4 XLs. I run 1 Zoa. Just auto win card with Rhino. If I have it, I have it. It's also pretty hard to hit with Monoculus Tiger as well, or Rhinos by itself. 3 Barlet Roll. If I set this up with an Excel Circle first turn, then I have 4 on hits that are going to happen, and my opponent's going to have much more pressure to drop more cards. Combined with Restanders, it just becomes crazy. I run 2 Managarmor. This was a last-minute decision to put in because the number of decks that I saw that were running grade 1 perfect cards had jumped up. So we had ZTB, Anj, as well as a couple of random stragglers that were deciding to put in grade 1. And Luard as well. So I thought this against those matchups would be pretty good. I only played it once, and it actually won me a game, so that was nice. 1 Afonk. I decided to put this in last minute as well, just because of Kaguro. I was afraid that since all that new stuff came out, people were going to jump onto a Kaguro train and try to play that a little more this tournament, so this was just for the new counter. 1 for an Aegis. For an Aegis specifically for any Chaos matchups. I know it's scarce, but I think that Chaos overall is a really bad matchup for Great Nature, considering that we don't have any unlockers, and this is our only out to be able to clear a board, prevent our opponents from being able to lock the board anymore, and then be able to just go off. And because I'm running that, I'm also running 1 Kyontinka. This is in case I'm reaching deck out and I need to put cards back. This, especially with a new Managarmor, is going to be great. And then I run 1 Seabreeze. This deck has a pretty good grade 2 lockout, so you keep stay at grade 2, or if your opponent tries to stay at grade 2, you can ride Leopold, and if you're at 3 damage, then you can have 1 Crayon Tiger restand, so it just becomes that much more oppressive. G-Guardians, we got 2 Spangled. I like how this card interacts, it could have worked out for me. I only did a double G-Guardian once, and it sucked because I had the worst luck ever. I ended up drawing 8 cards, and 6 of them were triggers, and it just sucked. But this in itself is a really good card. 1 Almirage. This is just good against mostly Nubatama. So if they go into a Rene turn and they try to hit me with those 15 and a crit extra power attacks from my hand, I'll just call over them and stop the attacks. Did it once during top 8, and it actually worked out for me. 1 head of the Bastion Ardillo. I was kind of on the fence about this card. I was going to choose between this or Kundalini, and in playtesting I saw Kundalini. I only use Kundalini maybe half as much as I would use this. Mostly for the fact that if I'm against the Nubatama matchup, I'm not going to have a board, so that way I can get the +10, and with Kundalini I have to have a card on the board, and that becomes a worst case scenario, so I need to so sometimes I don't rely on the amount of counterblast I need for the next turn, or to try to pull off a Zoa. I'd rather just save myself and then go into a secure barrel on the next turn. And then last G-Guardians got 2 Sankalpa. This is honestly the best G-Guardian that Great Nature has, combined with the fact that we get Excel Circles. So Leopold giving us an Excel Circle, we wipe our whole board. We have 6 open rearguards now, so we get plus 24,000 to the shield, making a 39,000 power shield, and you also get that power to a rearguard, and you can draw a card. So if you fill up 1, it becomes 20,000, which is enough, so any rearguard you have on board allows you to draw a card. And it's just, it reaches those numbers that Bermuda usually can make, so this is just, overall, just very good comparatively to all the other G-Guardians. And that is it.
Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. Like and post a comment up and down. Follow me on all social media sites. This is Jason Joe, and signing out.